Hi, this is Code Weaver. I'm back. I'm going to be playing a little bit of Kerbal Space Program. Only in my particular case, I'm going to do so with a little bit of a twist. So, I am going to be. It's a very minor twist because it's only aesthetic, really. So I'm going to be playing a bog standard version with almost no mods of Kerbal Space Program. The most recent version, which is 1.10.1, I guess? I think so, yes. I'm not playing with any super advanced visual mods, and I'm not playing with MechJeb, which is one of my favorite sort of automated autopilot facilities. I'm going to do this by the book. I'm going to be playing career mode, and I've set up career mode to be medium level difficulty. And the only modification I've made to that is I've allowed my characters to respawn if they die. Now, I tend to do quick saves and quick loads, and I'll save the game as I go and reload it if I get in trouble. So I don't like to lose my Kerbals in the first place. If I explode stuff, I want to go back and find out why and fix it up. I'm not playing that kind of hardcore one-shot play through this, but I am going to be playing with a mod called Kerbal Space Ponies, because ponies are adorable, and I've played through this so many times in the completely bog standard way that I want to be a little bit unusual this time around. So this is my shtick. I have as my two main characters in the game, or three main characters in the game, Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash, and those are going to form the scientist, the engineer, and the pilot, respectively. And I'm going to take them and hire all the pony characters that show up in my hire list as the game progresses. Now, this is really not going to change anything about the game. It's just to amuse myself. They only show up as characters when they're out and about. They don't show up that way anywhere else, as far as I know. If you spot them, good for you. Don't worry about it. Not really going to change anything about the game. The only thing I had to do to set them up as my primary characters was to do a little jiggery-pokery in my profile, in my save game file, just to be able to start out with the same amount of money, but with these characters as my primary characters. Other than that, I've done absolutely nothing else. So, we are going into this pretty much as a standard KSP, and we are going to attempt to get, in one sitting, at least try to get up to maybe interplanetary flybys. I might be able to do that. It kind of depends on how fast I can do this, but this isn't a speed run. It's also not my first playthrough, so here we go. One of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to get a capsule. Let me see. I don't think I have any science points available, so I can't expand anything, but I can get some science points right on the launch pad. And I'm going to get as many as I can, so I'm also going to attach some goo here. It's been a while since I've played this, so bear with me as I try to remind myself how to maximize my science output. Again, this isn't a speed run. You can usually get 2 kicks at the science can per biome with each science instrument, but I only have 1 science instrument plus the capsule. After sampling the science twice, you get pretty much no other science, or at least it's to very much diminishing returns. Don't think I can cram any more into this on this trip, because I'm going to recover most of my stuff, so I'm not wasting any of the hardware. I could sample stuff on the pad, launch, and grab more in the air, but I'm going to do that on a separate launch, because that's just the way I roll. So, let's see who I've got assigned here. Should be... oh, hello. Why do I not have Rainbow Dash in my list? Okay. I am probably going to have to figure that out. Go to Astronaut Complex. Why did... Rainbow Dash not show up here? Because Rainbow Dash is assigned somewhere. There's 3 active Kerbals. Leave the facility. Don't save this particular ship. I might have got her already. Yes, I've already got her out on the launch pad, and that's why. So we're just going to recover that. I haven't lost any money as a result of doing this. Alright, so let's try this again. Not that it really matters. I just wanted to know why suddenly one of my crew is missing, because that might have suggested I screwed something up in the manual editing of the save file. Which, by the way, I'm not going to do again unless I have no alternative in order to exclude standard Kerbals from my astronaut list, which won't occur for a long time anyway. So, let's throw Rainbow Dash in the pilot seat. I've got everything I can. I'm not actually going to be launching, so let's... going up into the sky, so... Let's get this party started. Right, so... Here we go. You can see that Dash is currently in the pilot seat here. Trying to figure out, remember what my controls are. This is me looking about inside, but not that interesting. Okay, so... also, I usually play this on my laptop, so I'm not familiar with quite the same controls on my PC, so that's going to take a little getting used to. But here we go. Observe Mystery Go. We can get 2.7 science. Let's keep that. Now, this is going to say, I think, that we can get 2.7 science, but it's not really going to be that much because I'm going to be doing 2 of them, so one of them will be diminished. I am going to get a crew report from here. There's a few more controls, and control from here for this part, control point. I'm not sure what that is yet. We'll figure that out a little bit later. This has actually, I think it was easily 1.0 something or other when last I played this, probably a late version of 1.0 something. So it's been a while. Can we? Yes, we can. We can click on the capsule and say EVA. Now, we can't do this when the ship's up in space or in the sky until we get an expansion, but we can do so here on the expansion. We can upgrade, I think, to one of the complexes. Because a lot of the game in medium mode requires you doing lots of upgrades to your base. So, let's do an EVA report. That's going to get us another 2.2 science. I think that's probably the most we can get. Just for giggles, let's remove the helmet. Aren't you, like, absolutely adorable? Alright, so let's grab up on top of that, and we're going to board. Yay! Okay, so the EVA report has been added to the command pod. I think we need a scientist to be able to bring in the science stuff from the goo inside. So maybe I should try to bring Sparkle out here, but we're not going to be able to do EVAs anyway. So, all right. So having done that, we are going to call this mission a success. We're going to recover the vessel. Now we got 6 science out of that, which is probably the most we're going to get without actually launching off the pad. And I don't think, and we recovered all the bits, so the amount of cost that we actually had is minor. And there are some missions which you don't have to sign up for that you automatically get, which is convenient. 1 XP gained, yay! Okay. Right, now, let's take a look around. Research and development. Our first expansion occurs once we have... Oh, we can buy 1 research path. Question is, do I want the path that gets us the thermometer, which is a science instrument, or do I want to get more boosters? Now, we already have some small boosters available, and that will get us to at least 1, if not 2 other biomes. Maybe 3. I can't recall. We'll have to figure that out. Which should be able to get us science to purchase this anyway. What I really want to do is get the thermometer on board so that I can maximize the amount of science I get out of that for my money too. So I tend to go research heavy. I'm going to research this, and I only really want to purchase the 1 part, not all of them at present. So right click on that to lock the menu and then go purchase this. So I have to both purchase with science points and then purchase with money to get the item. But that, oh, that's not where I wanted to go. That enables me to do what I just did, only with the science thermometer, the thermometer science equipment. And again, I'm going to put 2 of them on here, and I'll show you that there's a diminishing returns on the goo because I'll leave them there. There's no disadvantage to me doing so since I recover 100% of the parts, or very nearly so. So let's see if we can put Twilight Sparkle on here because we're not piloting this craft anyway. Bless her heart, Twilight is definitely the scientist, and I'm definitely having Dash as the pilot, although that's scary for different reasons. Alright, so here we go. Launch. Alright, so trying to observe the mystery goo. How much science are we going to get from this? Basically, if we recover it completely here on the surface, we're going to get 0.1. If we transmit it, we get 0.0. Now, I tend to bring all of my rockets back home if I can, so you're going to see a lot of this until we get permanent space bases, which is just not happening today, most likely anyway. We won't be doing any transmission of science. We'll be doing entirely recovery-based activities, because that's just how I roll. But it's really 0.1 science is really kind of not worth it. I just sort of wanted to do that to demonstrate the issue. So what happens if we toggle display? We can actually see what temperature it is. I love that it's in Kelvin, incidentally. So let's keep the experiment. Yes, so that gives us another 2.2 science there. Log the temperature. Now it's not going to give us 2.2 science fully because we're doing 2 of them at once. Hey, Sparkle, let's go do an EVA. So. Hey, Sparkle, we're going to remove the helmet because it's cute. Yay, there's our Kerbal Space Ponies. So, oh, remove neck ring? Oh, neat. I didn't know we could do that. That's got to be relatively new. Alright, back in your helmet because that's also cute. Alright, EVA report. So we don't get any science from doing the EVA report because it's not per Kerbinaut. And we're going to board. And we're going to call that one good to recover the vessel. Yay. So it gets us another small batch of science. And we recovered all the materials, although we are spending money doing these launches now a little bit, I guess. I don't think we can actually... Do we have enough to purchase this? No. If we try to do the research, it'll tell us. Not enough science to research this note. So, that's fine, though, because we are going to start putting a little bit of a rocket on this, and we don't need much. We can just do basically that. We are going to need a parachute because we can't actually land this thing. We're going to leave all the sciencey bits we can on this thing. We are going to definitely get Twilight out of the science seat, although I should have verified whether or not we can get Twilight to extract science data from the sensors. Interesting. I don't recall how to upgrade Twilight's skill, but that's alright. Also noticed, by the way, I got one experience point. One experience point for the for Rainbow Dash when she was in the pilot seat. At medium level by default, I believe I have to manually sort of upgrade the characters, and in fact, let's call this. We'll call this craft a Froggy because it's going to hop around in the spirit of Froggy Bottom Bog. So we're going to save that, but I'm going to go over to the astronaut complex. Okay, it's not the astronaut complex where I can give them upgrades. Is it administration? No, this is where I set up where my finances go to. Don't usually use the spacecraft hangar much. This is where we sign up for specific missions for money. It's a very interesting question. New applicants are here to be recruited. Can use living in recreation spaces with crew members. Well, we're going to figure out how to upgrade our character's skills a little bit later. So, let's get this thing actually launched. So, let's check our staging. So the staging is basically how we can control what parts activate at what times in a strictly linear order without having to right-click on things and trigger them. We basically just set them up in order to go one after another by hitting the spacebar to move between them once we've launched. Getting this correctly set up means that we don't have to fiddle with any other controls. It's nice. So let's hit launch. Oh, there's no remote control or man command modules. Quite true. Let's get our pilot in place. Oh, that's why we can't upgrade Dash. She hasn't gotten enough XP to get that first point, so that's fine. Alright, here we go. Let's save that situation. Let's launch. Away we go. So right now we're just going to basically go, let me see, what biome do I want to try to tackle? I'm going to try to tackle landing in the ocean. I'm going to get some ground, actually no, I'm going to do the air first. So I'm going to do basically low altitude flight above the pad. And I think that's one of the biomes. And I'm going to try not, it doesn't matter if I land in the ocean because I'm going to use all the science instruments as I go up anyway. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, launch. So we're just going to go up and up and up and up and up. And in the meantime, let's get a crew report and keep it. This is basically while flying over Kerbal shores. So here we go. We're going to observe the mystery goo. Keep the experiment. Log the temperature. Keep the experiment. This is temperature scan flying over Kerbal shores. Now I know that I could land and get more science. All at once instead of getting sort of nickel and diming the science just above the pad, and you're right, I totally could. I could get more science faster with one launch. I'm going to be slower, if not a little bit more thorough about exhausting the biomes. Again, just how I roll. And Dash is taking her sweet time to trigger the next stage in the staging, which is the parachute. But if I trigger the parachute all the way up here, it's going to take a while. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to speed up time a little bit. The physics warp can affect structural stability of the vessel. Be careful with it. Using large ships. Okay, so time warping. There's two different kinds. One of which is the physics time warp and the, I guess, the non-physics time warp. The difference being is that when you're out in space and the only thing that can affect you is gravity, and the system can sort of analytically figure out exactly where you should be, and there's no physics simulation involved, you can accelerate up to huge speed factors just to be able to cover planetary distances without dying of boredom. However, if there are any forces affecting your ship, then like, for example, you're applying thrust or you're in an atmosphere and it's buffeting you around, you can only go as fast as the physics engine will allow, and you can push the physics engine to its limit, but then you could make your craft unstable. It tends to happen on bigger ships. It doesn't tend to happen on smaller ones, so I can accelerate time only up to a factor of 4. And at about 2,000 meters, I'm going to deploy that. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Really? Well. We are going to revert to launch. because that was terrible, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's because I got going too fast. So, you know what I'm going to do? Ha 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 ha. Let's just... I'm going to go 002... Froggy's first hop. Great. So, because there's no other way for the craft to slow down, it'll drop like a stone. It will reach terminal velocity, but that's too fast to deploy the chute, so I should have deployed it sooner. Yeah. So we're going to deploy it at the top end of the range until we figure out how fast we can get away with. So let me just rapidly go through all of this. Because I have to go through this again, having screwed that up. Crew report. Both of the temperatures being logged, and we're going to get maximum science out of this unit. Log temperature. Yeah, okay. So, I'm going to have to watch this, and I'm going to have to make sure that it doesn't get too fast on me. Notice we're already getting up to 10 kilometers, so I'm going to accelerate time again, just to take some of the pain out of this. But I've got to watch my speed here. Did I screw it up again? I did, didn't I? Altitude 1,000. Alright. One more time. Revert to launch. Okay, very interesting. It's been a while since I played this, and it's certainly obviously been a while since I played it on medium difficulty. So, one more time. No drama, let's just go. Log temperature, yes. Log goo, yes. Sorry, what I should do then... Crew report. Alright. So we're going to be less stupid about this. The minute we hit turnaround, we're going to deploy the chute and let it open when it is naturally possible. So there's turnaround, deploy the chute, stop screwing around with this. We're going to lower the time warp so that the time warp doesn't glitch out and rip the chute off of us. Jeez, you'd think I'd never played this game before. Going from launching big space stations and landing them on Duna and even Eve, and now I can't even get a simple rocket to launch and land. Ah, how the mighty have fallen. For loose definitions of mighty. So we're coming down. Hopefully it'll deploy. Well, I mean, it's already deployed, so hopefully it'll expand without any harm. Now, 1,000 meters, if I recall, it should trigger, so there it is. And we slowed down and it's decelerating very, very rapidly, and there we go. Alright, so now I can accelerate the physics. I feel safe doing that, now that it's fully deployed and we've sort of reached a steady state. Alright, here we go. Nice landing, right in the water. Yay! That was way less drama. Well, Rainbow Dash is at our first successful flight. So we got 20 science out of that. That's great. So, yeah, and a bunch of funds, so that's good. We're not signing up for any major missions just yet. I'm taking this slow. No XP gain for that. That's fine. Okay. Let's go and do this again. So we're building up a nice nest egg of funds, so that's good. This time we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to wait until we land in the water before it's a big deal. Now, you notice we landed in the water last time. I want to get a little bit further out this time just to make sure I'm properly in the water biome. But the observant will ask the very obvious question. why did we end up in the water if we launched straight up while we were sitting on the pad? Because I didn't make any changes to my ascent, really. And the reason for that is pretty straightforward. The planet rotated underneath us. So, yeah. This time we're going to give it a little help, though. We're going to launch, and we're going to go a little bit off to the side. Now, you'll notice I'm using this SAS thing. It's a little reaction wheel system that provides just a little bit of help in locking in a trajectory out over the water. And or in any orientation, actually. It's basically a sort of a go straight autopilot. It's not got perfect control. You get a big enough ship and you'll need a bigger SAS to be able to hold it steady, but that doesn't apply here. Right, so I don't think this is going to give us any additional goo up here. A little bit. If we collected it here, we'd get a little bit. That's not worth my while. I'd rather collect more when I get down onto the ground. It's basically while flying at Kerbal. And I think until we get to like low Kerbal orbit, the biome doesn't change when we're up in the air, at least not for the mystery goo. Reset experiment, so we can ignore that. What about this guy? Log the temperature. While flying over Kerbal's water, so while the goo... Okay, we're going to do this in a couple of stages then. While the goo does not give you an additional biome. Oh god. And we've just nerfed it again, because I'm an idiot. Revert to launch. So, because I was talking, I wasn't paying attention. The while you're so above various ground biomes are more biomes, except for apparently the goo. Okay, so that's fine. So launch, and then set the SAS just to lock in that trajectory. Wait until we're well above the water. Log the temperature. No, actually, sorry. Reset. We're not far enough out over the water. We don't want to be above the shores. We want to be above water. And actually, we can do this once the chute is deployed. Actually, there's no reason why not. So let's just wait until turnaround. Okay, that's. Why don't we do this here? All right. Log the temperature. We're out over the water. We'll keep that. Log the temperature. We'll keep that. Crew report. We'll keep that. Unlock the SAS so that we let the chute sort of pull us around. So we're not fighting the chute's orientation. Note that the lines don't really get tangled around the spacecraft. Guess that's just a playability issue. That's probably fair. Right. So we're going to accelerate briefly, do a physics acceleration down to near the 1,000-meter mark, because that's where our chute's deploy is set to deploy, and you can see that here. I right-click on it. I just leave these as default. So I'm not doing anything fancy. And I left the physics going right the way through the deploy, and it didn't break off. Used to be that was a bigger problem, but they have a sort of softer deploy. That was a long time ago. I've been playing this game since 0.8, 7, something. And there we go. Recover the vessel, please. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go out over the water again in a second and do it once I've actually landed in the water. Which I think will probably give me more goo science. Look at that, science, 39. Notice I've collected all of this without adding any new parts or doing any research. You can do this all with basically the bog standard stuff, with the exception of, by the way, getting the temperature gauge. But actually, that brings up an interesting point. When's the next sensor? That's the press mat barometer, and that only requires 15, so we're going to buy that immediately. And the next one after that is... where is the next one? The Science Junior, which is a self-contained laboratory. I think that's the one we want next. Looking out over various parts here. It's also not going to be a super detailed tutorial on how to play the game. There's plenty of people who do that better. By the way, Scott Manley, look him up. Fabulous science enthusiast, general enthusiast for space stuff, and easily KSP's unofficial, but arguably very nearly official community spokesperson for KSP. He's absolutely fabulous. I guess it's Billy Wynn Jr. I like him as well. He does some great stuff on KSP, doing all sorts of great builds and the like. But lots of tutorials on Scott Manley's side, and there's lots of other people who love playing this game. So I'm just playing this largely because I want to have a little bit of fun. I'll try to be tutorial-like as I go. Do I have 45? No, I don't. All right, so here's the gotcha. If you don't research, if you don't keep on top of the research, you have to revisit certain biomes to redo research that you've already done, which is a bit of a shame because now I'm probably going to have to do that exact same flight again just to be rigorous about the science collection. And I do at least have to be somewhat careful about my finances, although I'm doing pretty good. I just don't want to... Each launch costs you in fuel, although I'm recovering almost all the parts. So, science. Okay, so we can purchase the part here, and we're going to add that part in pairs to the outside of this. Alright, there we go. So, we're going to save that, because we're just going to build up Froggy. I'm not going to preserve extra... save games for that. Well, actually that's a lie. I probably should at this point. Something very, very new has happened. So let's do that. 003 Froggy Science Froggy Pressure for the pressure science we're doing. Alright, so let's do some quick on the pad gathering of pressure data, because that's just free science. And do a couple of those. And then just recover the vessel. Yeah, lots of science. That's great. Actually, I didn't need to go back in here. I can just basically, I could go launch straight from the pad, but that's alright. Alright, we are going to go straight up into the sky. We're going to repeat some of the science we just did. It's going to take only a few launches to sort this out. So we're going to log the pressure data here. Again, free science. Get 2 of them, which mostly exhausts the science we can do here. Go all the way up to the top at maximum physics acceleration until turnaround. Looks like the physics is for a ship this small is pretty stable even when accelerated, so we're just going to accelerate all the way back down. So I want to rip through this as fast as possible. If we can get to the Science Junior. Come on, all the way down, please. Fast as you like. If we can get all the way to the Science Junior, that's actually a pretty good spot to start investing in other bits of rocketry and the like. And we can do that pretty quick. Like I said, I like a science-heavy game, a science-heavy career path. If for no other reason than it means that as I visit more complicated biomes, I have as many science tools as I can to help increase my rocketry. So we're already up to science 35, and I think we needed 45 for the next one, right? Probably. Let's just go and double check. For that last one, I need 45 science, and I only have 35. Although, it might be worth asking the question, should I spend a couple of research getting the more powerful engine now? Let's lock that in. so that I can at least get engines capable of getting me possibly up into space. Now, I already had one decoupler in my list, which is what I'm going to need in order to do a proper staging, so that's good. So having reserved that, that means that I'm not locked out of getting into, say, space, easily into space and other biomes without a lot of fuss. And over to the mountains, amongst other things, which will enable us to continue getting the rocketry. So hopefully this path will bear fruit. I don't want to get myself in a really ugly situation of not actually being able to get out into the rocketry side, even though I do like my science path. So, yeah, let's get right back to it. I've got all the science instruments I can. We're going to launch. We're going to do what we did before. We got the ones on the pad, I think. We got the ones just above us. Now we're going to do it again out over the ocean. So here we go. Up and over and whoa! It's actually kind of hard to turn off SAS. It's actually hard to steer your direction when you're moving really, really fast. Alright, so let's do this. Log the pressure data here. Sure. Actually, did this get us what we wanted? So this is, while flying. Okay, so the atmospheric pressure scan is not a science tool that can be used in multiple biomes the same way as like above the surface as the temperature is. That's interesting. Let's just double check that. We're going to log the pressure data. We're going to overwrite it. Yeah, okay, so here's what we're going to do. Since that's not leading us any science, we're going to revert the flight to the launch, and we're going to go straight into landing in the ocean, where we can collect all of our science instruments. So far, the thermometer has given us an additional biome flying above certain elements on the surface. I don't know why they broke it up that way, probably for gameplay balance reasons, but that's okay. We can figure it out. So we're going to go out into the water. You can see the supersonic cones coming off of the... that's what I'm presuming they are anyway. At least atmospheric distortions as I'm punching through the air. Hey Dashy, how you doing? Enjoying your flight? Alright. So, let's... this is turn around, so I'm going to deploy the chute now just to save us some grief. I'm going to turn off the SAS. But I am going to accelerate physics so we get down to the surface. Now, if we do get that final science instrument that I really, really want, we're going to have to do some of these over again. So bear with me. We'll make this as quick as possible. Then we can get into some really fun rocketeering. Right, so let's... do the, so log the pressure data. Great, lots of science. More pressure data. 2 bouts of temperature data. Yep. You probably could do more than one crew report in an area, and we'll keep trying to collect little snippets of crew data because we only have one capsule. So, I'm less worried about that, mind you. Can we actually do an EVA here now that we're out on the surface? Cannot disembark while off of Kerbal surface. Astronaut complex upgrade required. So you can't do an EVA after launch without doing the astronaut complex upgrade. But that's okay. We can live with that. We're just doing rapid fire science collection just to bootstrap our career path. We're up to 39 science, which does not suck entirely. Right, so let's then do another launch. And this time we're going to go the other direction over the grasslands. And let's see what we can pick up. So, launch. Just going to keep using the really, really simple vessels so that we keep our costs down and we know where our limits are. So here we go. I guess I'll turn on the SAS to begin with. It doesn't really matter. It just sort of locks in wherever you leave it. Now we're fighting the planet's rotations here, so I want to be a little bit harder over. Not that it's proving to be a major issue, but, you know, just saying. So let's use this. We'll use the temperature as an indicator. We are flying over Kerbal's grasslands. We'll use that as an indicator of when we're over a new biome above the surface that might seem to matter. Crew report applies. Okay, so we're going to keep that. Log the pressure data. We're going to keep that. It doesn't matter here, actually, you'll notice. But I'm going to do it anyway, because why not? Crew report. No, I already did the crew report. I think I got everything. But we are going to deploy the chute, because otherwise we're going to be in trouble, and disable the SAS. Oh, and we're going to want these, assuming that it even matters, above the grasslands. No, just while flying at Kerbal. But it is reporting a very minor science gain, so what the hell, it doesn't cause us any grief to do so. The other reason to keep the craft small is that the chute, of course, can only land so heavy a ship before you start having to use the decouplers to throw away bits of your ship, and then that starts to cost you money. So this is a great way to get a lot of science with a minimal ship without having to throw away bits of your ship and lose money. Because everything you can recover, everything you can tell it to recover that isn't fully destroyed is money in the bank. That includes debris, by the way. I believe. It's been a while. Plink. Alright. Recover the vessel. Yay! So we're already at Science 48, but what that gives us is that immediately gives us a reason to do this, which is to get the final Science Junior Station. Which suddenly means we have to do a whole bunch more stuff. Bog standard, very boring, sciencey stuff. But let's do it. Well, it's not boring. Science is awesome, but it is an additional complication. So hopefully we can still do this without causing. It's going to be heavier. Hopefully we're going to be able to do this while still having only the one parachute, and we're going to find that out in a second here. So save, launch. So that only saves the ship, by the way, to save the full state of the game. I have run out of bubbly stuff. That is a travesty. All right. So, first things first. Conduct a materials study. That gives us 6.8 science. So this one, you know what? This is going to get interesting because we're again going to want to do revert flight to the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. We're going to want... can we... Okay, so I want to be able to do 2 of these science runs per biome, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on stream doing even more work than I normally would. So can we go to structural? We're going to be clever. We're going to be kind of crazy here. We are going to... No, I didn't want symmetry. Symmetry mirror radial is fine. A pair of these. We're going to be really crazy town here because we can. And because we know we're going to be recovering the entire ship. But this is going to get heavy in a hurry. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more parachutes because I'm going to add more of these, and that is not what I wanted to do. Stream still working? Stream still seems to be working. Okay. No, it's not Control. Is it Alt? There it is, Alt for copy. Again, not used to doing this on my PC. So that's going to be heavier than normal, and actually we're going to use the even bigger booster eventually to get out past the grasslands to the highlands and the mountains. But no matter what, this is going to get stupid heavy. Hence and I want to recover everything. So hence the additional parachutes. Now this has just increased the mass enormously, and it has also increased the launch cost of this thing enormously. But the reason why I still think this is valuable to do is maximize getting as much science out of the local environment as possible with the smallest possible ship. Granted, in this case, in less time than normal, but we can recover all of the parts for almost all of the cost, hopefully, which should be helpful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the stream for just a moment, at least in terms of my microphone. I'm going to go get myself some more bubbly, and I will be right back because, yeah, more liquid. And back, and that didn't take long at all. So, maybe you even heard that fizz. I am going to pour myself a little bit of this while I ponder exactly how explosive this next launch is likely to be. Alright, that'll do. This is a ridiculous ship with ridiculous parts. Let's find out if it flies. So, we're gonna... Oh, I just overwrote my old Froggy. Oh well, we no longer have the old Froggy. That's fine. When I go to a new generation of ship that's a bit more intelligent, I'll give it a new name. So this is still Froggy. Yeah, there's no warning about overwriting old ship files. More's the pity. I wish they'd done something like that. But I can live with it, because in any case, this is just a rapid fire running through the science collection. So let's see if this thing, first of all, let's collect the data on the pad. So conduct a material study. Yes, okay, so we're going to be able to get 2 of these per trip for at least the next few launches. Keep the experiment, that's all fine. Everything stages correctly, they'll launch fine. And we are not going to launch this time, we'll launch it next time, because this will give us our first boost to science from right on the pad. And here goes the next one. Actually, we're going to hit launch, we're going to save. I guess if you can recover the dropped bits of... So, if you jettison bits of ship and they land on the surface and just explode, you can't recover them. If you can jettison them, detach them from your ship, and they have their own parachutes or whatever, then you can make sure they land independently. With some caveats to that. You see, I seem to recall in order to do that, you have to be able to track them as they fall. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because we're doing it all as one big ship anyway. So, here we go. We're going to launch straight up, try to capture the new science with these things, and see if we can land somewhere near the pad semi-safely. We're not going to go up as high, because we got up to about 10 kilometers, if you recall, on our last launch. Let's see how heavy this behemoth is. Still getting some good punch out of it. Alright, so conduct a material study. 15.8 science. And this is while flying, which means it's probably not going to be any different out over the ocean. But that is a lot of science. So we're going to get 15.8 science on one, and probably half that on the other. We'll have to see what the rate of diminishing returns is. Okay, so we're coming back down. We're definitely counting shoots early. I'm going to accelerate until we're about 1,000 meters above, and we'll see how it behaves. And the speed comes down really, really nicely. Now, as long as we're below about 10 meters per second, most of the ship will survive, but I do want to be pretty ginger on this. You can even survive slightly higher than that, but I like to keep it below 10. You notice we did not, because we didn't get up for quite as high, we also did not drift that far off of the pad. So here's the thing, though. When you land, if you don't land perfectly upright like that and you tip over, you can actually damage bits of your ship. So a neat trick as you're coming down is unlock your SAS and rock your ship back and forth so that when you land, you on purpose tip over while the chutes are still active, and the chutes will lower you to the ground somewhat safely. Another way to do that is to attach a chute to the bottom of your ship, which you deploy late in order to bring the tail up a little bit. It's nicer to land on your side softly if you're going to land on your side at all. But we did good here, so we are just going to recover the vessel, and we're going to pay a little bit more attention to the stats on this, just to see what comes up here. So, we got 25 science gathered. We got 15 science gathered from bringing the science station back for the first one. But for the second one, we got 1/5 of that science. So, assuming that that scale is roughly the same for the next one, we would get approximately 0.65-ish, 0.7, nearly 0.7 science for another launch that did the same thing off of that same science station. It's just not really worth it compared to the potential cost of launching. And if we get an opportunity to do it from one of our launches, because we're collecting other data anyway, hey, it's free science and we're taking the whole thing with us. I only have the one ship type. I'm not going to have like a whole bunch of configurations to absolutely maximize the value of every launch. That's just too much effort. But this did pretty good. Recovery of a vessel that survived a flight. We get science out of that too, so that's pretty cool. Parts. You can see that basically we recovered 10,792 funds from the recovered parts. So we're really only paying for fuel, which is really, really good. So, and we get reputation points, which will come into play a little bit later. You can parlay reputation points into other things like additional science or additional funding by way of stuff that goes on at the administration building, which we will be engaging eventually. Here, by the way, is a teaser. We can, for example, outsource our R&D, and this takes 5% of our funds and gets more science out of it. So as we start getting a lot of money out of our contracts, as long as, when we get to the point where money is rolling in for us doing work, we can actually get science out of the money as money directly, which I quite like because I like being science heavy. There's also things like the Open Tech program, which takes science gains and yields reputation. Not entirely sure what the value of reputation is on its own, except to parlay it to other things. I like the appreciation. No, hang on. Is it the bailout grant? No. I guess I don't usually use the public relations one. I actually like funding more stuff into the tech more heavily. Operations. I think this is new since I've been in here, maybe. Additional vehicle recovery, which is nice. Additional funds off launch costs. Intriguing. Okay. leadership initiative, fundraising campaign takes reputation gains and funnels them into funds, or patents licensing, which takes science gains and yields funds. I'd like to parlay reputation into funds. So this increases my funds, but I would like to have my funds then parlay into additional science. But in order to be able to make this worth it, you can only commit up to a certain percentage of a certain percentage of the stuff that you get in to go out, and it costs a big setup cost. There's a big initial outlay in order to set these up, and taking only 7% of the income is not enough for me. So I want to be able to get to the point where I can upgrade this building so that I can raise that to like 20%, so I can commit more, go really hard into these things, which you can't do now. You can do it again later, but you'll have already spent the setup cost, and I think that's unrecoverable, and then you would pay an additional setup cost later. So I'm not going to do that right now. So let's go back in and see where we are. We have 30.5 science. Among the things that we could go after, we can go after a radial decoupler, which is nice because we can attach stuff on the side. We can also go into heavier lifters like liquid fuel engines and the solid fuel booster. Realistically, I want both of these because that enables us to arguably do a proper space program into space. So what we are looking for is an additional 38 science, and we are almost there. Do any of these help me immediately? The winglet kind of helps us keep going straight, so that's helpful. The dynamic nose cone, if you're pushing hard through the atmosphere, that can help save up fuel costs. I don't often go that route. I'm often brute force, just get it through the atmosphere. Well, yes. I do like the radial decoupler, though. I really like the radial decoupler. We really want both of these. Realistically, we want both of these. But I want the radial decoupler first, and the reason being is that I can radially decouple, attach these solid fuel boosters so that I can do side staging instead of below staging, which has the advantage eventually that I can put, for example, more. I guess it may not matter up front. It would allow me to put more brain not functioning parachutes on the tops of those individual items, because we do not yet have radially mounted chutes, which are way deeper into this somewhere, and I don't remember where. But we'll find that as we go. Yeah, we'll find that as we go. So I really need 38 science. I got a lot of science I can do with what I currently have. It's not really helping me buy the science up front, but I suppose I can. Why not? Let's spend 18 science on this. But then we're going to go specifically after this. And once I get basic once I get this upgrade to rocketry, I should be able to get into space trivially. I know there's some really clever people who can build some crazy designs to take stock bits and get all the way into orbit, and I'm not feeling that bold on this stream. Rainbow Dash might. I'm not. Okay, so let's do another launch. I have prevaricated enough. Nobody's come into my stream, into my chat room. That's okay. Not that I mind people coming to my stream. It's nice to see people popping in. I did have a viewer for a moment. Let's go and do the thing. It's just that I have to keep reminding myself to go look at the stream, because I'll occasionally have people pop into my chat room, and I won't notice, and I gotta work on that. So, here we go. We're gonna launch, and we're gonna go, let's see. We have already done science above the grasslands, and above the ocean, and above the pad. These new science stations do not need new biomes above things, so I need on the ground, on the in the water, as well as on the grasslands. So here we go. We are still going fast enough that we are seeing the vapor trails coming off the ship, so we got some serious rocketry. It also goes to show you, by the way, how much of the mass of this ship is purely fuel. Okay. We're going to come all the way down, and just to verify... Yeah, just flying at Kerbal. And we only get 0.8 science. So I was saying nearly 0.7. It's a little higher than that. It's still not necessarily worth keeping, though. Oh, we should be out over the, yeah, out over and we're down. Still takes a little bit of time, even at maximum. Let's reduce the physics. Even at maximum physics acceleration, I noticed the water is a lot clearer here. I wonder if... Let me just go check my graphics settings just for a moment. Don't know if I can change any of that here, but it is very pretty. But I don't recall it being quite that clear because I'm actually seeing undulations in the underwater. Well, I can do that just by tilting the camera down far enough. Interesting. Oh well, anyway, let's get on with it. Let's reset the materials bay. Let's conduct the material study. And now we're getting a whole 9 science out of this. So keep that experiment. Conduct the material study. Keep that experiment. Getting any more crew report science? No, not really. Any more goo science? Oh, hello. I must not have done this in the water. Alright. Free science. I'll take it. Temperature. Are we good here? Yeah, we're not getting any additional temperature science. Log pressure data, and we're not getting any pressure science. So, we're good. Let's recover the vessel. Right. Very rapidly, let's just get on with it. We're gonna relaunch. Launch. And we're going out over the grasslands this time, and we are landing, because I believe we got all the science on the way over. I mean, I'm gonna double check anyway, but... so, up. Over, get the SAS going. Again, we want to tilt over a little bit harder than we otherwise would. If we can. To make sure we get properly out over the grasslands, which is going to be a little bit harder because we, yeah. I see we're still considered to be out over the shores, which is a bit of a problem. Reset. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as we land in the grasslands, but I'd like to know we're actually getting there before I deploy my... There we are. Before I deploy my chutes. So we're going to deploy the chutes. We're not going to get any science from any of that, though. Let's just double check the goo. Nope, we're not getting any science from that. We probably will when we actually land on the grasslands proper, though. So, down we go. Let's turn the SAS off so that we straighten up a bit. It's going to be one of those situations where it's conceivable we could land and tip over hard. So I'm going to force the issue by tipping over my ship on purpose. Try to make sure that I land in a way that actually... Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. So you can see that the parachutes lasted all the way to the ground, even though my physics was accelerated. I wanted to turn that off before I got down, but oh well, so be it. If you land mostly upright and it stays there long enough, the chutes will disappear, and then you'll topple over hard. Which is not what I wanted to do. So Let's get a bunch of science out of this, and I believe all of our systems will give us some science today. Because we have not actually... Nope. That's fine. Did I get the pressure data? Yes, I did. And I got the crew report. I did not get the goo. Right. Having done that, let's get this guy. And this guy. And then the sweet, sweet big science here, conduct a material study. Gets me some pretty good conduct material study. Gets me some pretty good science. I like it. I think we've gotten everything we can because we can't get out and give a crew report out here because we haven't upgraded the astronaut complex. Something we may revisit at a later time, although the science on the surface isn't necessarily a whole lot, but it's also pretty cheap to launch ships out here, so. Recover the vessel. Alright. Pouring myself some extra bubbly. Coke Zero, in case anybody wonders what I say when I say extra bubbly. I'm so glad I'm not one of those people who can't handle artificial sweeteners, because boy howdy, if I had to, I'd be in serious trouble if I actually had real sugar in as much this stuff as I drink. Anyway, personal vices, what do you do? So let's get on with this. We got some good reputation out of that. We got some great R&D out of that. In fact, enough, by the way, more than enough to get that new research. And we're going to need in the realm of 45 for that tier of stuff. Most of these are in the 45 realm, I think. So that's sort of our next target. We need 45 science to get any of the next major tech. Now, having done this, this is where it starts to get a little bit more experimental. We need to get to the grasslands, which is, or the highlands, which is a little bit further out than the grasslands, and we need to be able to get to the mountains, which is even further than that. But we still want to take all of our science stations, so we're probably at minimum going to need this guy instead. We're still going to try to recover as much of this ship as we possibly can, and we're going to call this Froggy Heavy to mark sort of a transition to our new tier of tech, because whatever it is that we build, we're going to try to get to those 2 new biomes, collect all the science we can, and then we're going to start thinking about space. So, Dashy, you're up again. All right, here we go. So, launching hard over. Oh, and now you see what happens when we get our staging wrong. That happened because I basically, so revert flight to the VAB. That happened because basically I removed an engine from a stage, which got rid of the stage, and then I added a new engine, but I forgot to readjust my stages. So, there we go. And I'm sure people would have been yelling at me in the stream. But none of you are here, so you didn't get to take advantage of that. I've dodged a bullet, because I'll never see any responses to any of my archived videos. So, here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. We want to go over hard. Oh, maybe a little too hard. Yep, that was way too hard. Feel free to laugh at me for that, too. Alright, I'm going to turn on the SAS before I launch. It doesn't stop me from steering. Oh, almost didn't do it. But it should lock it in a little harder when I... Alright, I'm going to do a couple of test launches to see how far over I can get. You can see this is clearly lasting longer. Alright, so now we're thrusting down, which is definitely what I don't want to do. We may consider adding fins to this. Good thing I bought those that fin upgrade, right? Alright. Let's try this again. A little bit more ginger. Now, the little SAS that happens to be in the main capsule, which is why you get one for free, is not super strong. This is probably the limit. You can actually see it starting to twist around a bit. It's probably the limit of the size of the craft that it can manage to hold steady. So, we're going to monitor the temperature gauge, because that one is the one that can actually tell us. See, we're still over the grasslands. That can tell us whether or not we're in one of the biomes, and I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do that. Maybe in the map mode. Alright. Let's see here. Log the temperature. Yeah, I see. We're still out over the grasslands. Reset the experiment. And we're not likely. We need to get all the way sort of at the base of the mountains there before I think we're in the highlands. So, and I don't think adjusting my trajectory is going to matter too much. I'm going to give it one more go just to see. Launching it around 45 degrees is sort of... well, it's the best ballistic trajectory you'll get on a flat surface, but in terms of distance, it's not quite true. Probably not quite true for continuous thrust over a long distance. But let's try to go up a little harder this time. You can actually see that as we rocket upward, my nose actually dips down a little bit naturally. It's called a gravity turn, basically. Alright, so that's pretty good. I don't think I'm going to do too much better than that on a single launch. And because of the heaviness of this thing, I don't think I'm going to be able to get all the way out there. My goodness, this has gotten just a little bit prettier since the last time I played. There have been lots of mods for this game, by the way. Tons of them that revamp the visuals, do all sorts of crazy stuff, atmospheric effects. Someday I'll turn those on for everyone and play it in that kind of a mode. But other than having my ponies as a bit of a shtick here on the right, my pilots, or my Kerbonauts, I wanted to keep this as standard as possible, because this is meant to basically be a lovely and playable game completely in its own right. And for those of you who are going to ask the next inevitable question, will I get KSP2? And the answer is maybe, but I'm really quite ticked at how Squad was treated, with their people being poached in the buying of this by their new parent company. Yeah, so, well, Private Division, I guess, is the group that did the original. But in any case, yeah, not really happy with how they got treated on that. I think it was kind of really scummy behavior. That being said, I'm still willing to see how good the program is, because I really adored this game. I'd like to see a new version of this. I'll have to make that call when it happens. Yeah, so enough about that, because I can't do anything about that right now anyway. So, reverting to vehicle assembly, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get as far as I need to get on that rocket alone. Now, I can go with a bigger single stage and try to recover as much of the ship as possible to save money, because I am slowly dwindling in money here, bit by bit, even though my science is going up. Or, well, let's see if we can do this. Although I did purchase a new part to be able to make that happen. So let's try to go with, this is a crazy big booster. Probably problem is if I go to smaller boosters, I'm going to be throwing away the boosters. Well, let's find out what happens when I do this. Let's fix the staging right away, so... Now, I may be in the position where... I may be in a position where this is not going to be enough parachutes. And because I'm recovering everything anyway, let's just go bananas and add even more chutes. And then let's do a launch. All right. All right, so let's give this a go. Launch, tilt over. Try not to completely flop over on its side, which could be a problem. There we go. I think that's actually pretty good. I got a very long burn here. Oh, and now we're tipping upward because I'm not sure why various properties of aerodynamics that I don't quite understand. But we're still going up, and that's not a bad thing because we need a good long burn. There we go. We're tipping forward again, so that's okay. I don't actually want to get to space on this one, but let's find out where this goes, because now what I can do, here's the thing. Once I know how far I can go, I can then trim the amount of fuel back in order to go less far without having to change the angle of my launch. And that's actually a little bit easier to control than it is to fiddle with angles, because it's starting to become a little bit unflyable as it is. Okay, so I'm going to accelerate time here until I find out where I'm going to come down. I'm actually hoping I can reach the mountains, because that means I can also reach the grasslands as an intermediate. So, all right. Okay, so we're going to come down roughly where we are now. Log the temperature. We're still above Kerbin's grasslands. Interesting. How far up do we have to go to get to the highlands? Is the highlands even a thing? Alright. Revert flight to the VAP. To launch. I'm going to try a shallower launch to see if that actually helps us get a little bit further. If we can. Come on, all the way over, all the way over, all the way over, all the way over. Let's hold it there. Whoa, a little bit back. Problem is, once we start tipping over, at least somewhat, we start tipping over more heavily, and no, it's going to be a little tricky, so. Don't want to be tipping up that far. That reaction wheel to help control our orientation in the cabin is really at the very edge of being able to do anything at all. Especially under heavy thrust. Alright, so there we go. I think that had generally a more shallow angle. And actually, we take a look at the map, because we do... so take a look at that. That's not getting anywhere very fast. You can actually see how foreshortened that is. We want to get actually way, way out here. Let's do one more. Again, with a more upward trajectory, and see if we can get above the atmosphere, then it's going to... See, that's the downside. You do a shallower angle, you get more friction for longer. So we're going to go up. We're going to have a not quite so shallow angle. Let's do that. Let's try that. Because if we can get up above the atmosphere a little bit further... Come on. Come on. Go. Alright. So let's take a look at where that ended up on. So that you can see that extends almost all the way to the mountains, but we still have so much friction that that as we're going up, the actual landing spot is being foreshortened quite a bit. So we are not going to be able to do it with this assembly alone. So this is where we start doing clever things involving tossing away parts. So I want to toss away as few parts as possible. Because I want to recover as much as possible. Okay, let me think about how we're going to do this. If I lost the entire cost of the two solid fuel boosters, that's going to be a loss of, say, 800. Like if I attach two to the side. If I attach one to the bottom, it's 400. If I lose one of these, it's the bigger ones, it's only 850. So it would be 800 for a pair of these, 850 for these. It's kind of a wash. Plus I would lose the cost of the actual coupler. And that's going to be... Is that under command and control? No, it's under... There it is. I would lose... the cost of that is... 200. So we're looking at about 1,000 loss if I couple to underneath. Sorry, 600 if I couple underneath. And for the side-mounted... wow, the cost on the side-mounted is huge. So I want to avoid the side-mounted if possible. It's actually cheaper for me to have a pair of these, one under another. Well, we're gonna want these parts anyway, so time to experiment. So if I do, for example, a pair of these, I'm gonna lose about 600 bucks every time I launch. I can cope with that, and this gives me the maximum. This is likely to be the best I'm going to be able to do, and it's not going to land any harder than the ship I just had, because I'm going to be getting rid of that lower stage, and it's just going to fall to Earth and explode. So probably explode. However, I think, do any of these have a control system on them? No, neither of these do. Relative wing area is bigger. Alright, so we're going to go with this winglet, which we're probably going to need for any big launches anyway. So I'm going to attach some to this in order to keep the thing stable. Now, it's better if it's, I guess, on the trailing edge of this, but I don't want it to be abandoned with the rest of the ship. So what I'm going to try, this may fail completely, is to add a bunch of these on here so that it can be recovered. Nice little bit of symmetry here. Alright, let's give this ridiculous thing a go. Alright, launch and hard over. Now this first booster has the disadvantage of having to actually push the weight of the other booster. And because it's fairly top heavy, I can't keep it from tipping all the way over. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch mostly upward, which will give us the height, and then the second booster will actually take us out and over, which is fine. I can live with that. But let's get that SAS going immediately. I may try to get just a hair of tilt, but only a hair. Yeah, there we go. Oh, come on. SAS can't fight that, but that's okay, we're almost at the top anyway. Build up a little speed, and then... doink! Alright. Those fins should help keep the thing fairly true as it goes up. Now while that's going up, let's monitor the map and find out where it's actually, what distance it's covering. So that's going out and over the mountains. So the downside to this, and we're gonna let this run out to find out where this goes. What this says to me is, on at least that upper stage, I want to trim the amount of fuel, because that's actually taking us, look at that, that's actually taking us into space. And yes, while that is great, because I could actually gather space stuff from up there, I'm trying to be somewhat rigorous about doing this in bits and pieces. What I mean is I'm going to try to get those lower biomes earlier rather than later. But now you know we can actually do a launch all the way... we can do a launch all the way to space on tech that we currently have. And actually with some careful juggling, even with solid fuel boosters, I could probably get into orbit. And then I probably wouldn't be able to get back down, and I'm not leaving any pony behind anywhere. So, there we go. Yeah. Just had to make sure my laptop was happy with me there. Okay, so, because it's doing my stream monitoring for me. So let's do this again, but let's use a much smaller engine as that first stage booster, which will actually save me money anyway. And I tilted over too far again. Alright. Revert to launch. Now you might think, okay, it's a smaller engine, you'll be able to get going less quickly when you start out, but any height and speed advantage in the initial launch helps considerably for that second stage. Come on. We're out of fuel in a second. I'd like to be a little farther over. Yeah. And there we go. Launch the second one. Now, of course, I had the decoupler and the thrust initiator tied to the same stage because that's a safe thing to do generally, at least for engines like this. Alright, let's go take a look. I don't know why the audio did a thing there, but you can see that just by adding that booster, it dramatically changed how far we can get with the full second stage. Doesn't take much on additional boost at the beginning in a staged engine. Now that's actually going to take us all the way over the mountains, which is actually not what I want to do. So, revert to launch. So we are going to, can we actually, no, we can't change this here. So what we have to do is actually revert flight to the VAB. And we have to fiddle with, I'm not going to try to change the angle that I launch too much because it's a little too tricky. But what I am going to do is I can either change the amount of time that I thrust or the amount of solid fuel. If I lower this too low, then I'm spending more of it just fighting gravity and not getting anywhere. So rather than do that, I'm just going to change the fuel, and I'm going to cut it down to half, about half, and see where that gets me. The astute of you will know that I could probably calculate this. I probably have the math skills to do that, but I've never played this needing that, and I don't want to start now for the sake of the stream because I kind of want to illustrate the point. Oh, that's too far over. Yeah, way too far over. I want to illustrate the point that you don't need a lot of math skills to play this game. Just experiment. I mean, you have to dial in on what you actually want in terms of your craft's behavior and performance. So experiments and the time necessary to perform them are necessary to playing the game, but you don't need a lot of math skills. You can see even just that little bit of fuel that little tiny extra engine gave us an enormous boost. Now, but you can see though that once the booster stops, because of friction, our landing position does get foreshortened quite a bit. You can actually see it crawling back across the mountains. And that's because friction is slowing down our forward motion. Part of that forward motion is horizontal motion, and so any slowing down is going to affect that. So what's going to happen here is, I think we're going to end up landing in the mountain regions. Let's find out, because if we happen to land in the highlands, great. If we happen to land in the mountains, great. I want both biomes. And actually, I want to capture the. We're going to dial this in because I'm going to want flying above the mountain biome anyway, for the sake of the sensor, for the sake of the temperature sensors. So let's actually figure this out. We are now. Oh, we're now in Kerbin's upper atmosphere. All right. You know what? Let's do this. Can we do it fast enough? Faster, faster. It's actually not where I intended to be. I think I got everything. Get both goo. I did not get both goo. So that's an interesting point. I probably have to be quite a bit. You know what? I'm going to hit the. Oh, can I even hit the? It's unsafe to deploy. So this has failed because because we are already going too fast for all of those parachutes to be able to save us. All right, so that's interesting. So in order to be able to, so we're going to have to. Here's the problem. If we wait until we're lowered down, we're going too fast to deploy the chutes. But that's not a big deal. All we have to do, all right, so I've done this wrong, because if I wanted to do what I was going to do right there, what I should have done is when we hit our apex, I should have deployed the chutes at that point. And then just floated down into the biome I was interested in capturing data for. So let's actually go for a repeat of what we just did. Whoops, too far over. Revert to launch. So let's see if we can do it this way. We're going to tilt just a little bit here. Come on. All right, there we go. Just a little over, if for no other reason than to thrust a little bit sideways to combat the rotation of the planet. Launch the second one. And the gravity turn will naturally just sort of pull us over a little bit. But as long as I repeat the setup, I should get roughly similar results. Still going up. Out of fuel here. Okay, so that's a little bit. I didn't tilt over quite as far as I'd anticipated there. and I'm not going to make space, but I am going to make the upper atmosphere, which is fine. While I'm up there, I will collect data for the upper atmosphere, because why not? It's another biome. And it appears that once you're in the upper atmosphere, being above the ground biome no longer matters. So let's, can we accelerate this? Accelerate, that's not what I wanted to do. Accelerate physics until we reach the apex of this ballistic trajectory. Need to get to 80,000 meters, if I'm not mistaken, to actually achieve space proper. So, okay, so here we go. Let's just deploy the chutes. So the chutes are effectively... now, okay, so here's the problem. They haven't deployed because they also need a minimum pressure. So the question is, will we get enough pressure before we have too much velocity to deploy? Because that's the other thing that could hose us. So we're going to find that out as we go down. But let's conduct the materials bay while we're here. Yeah, we're going to keep that. We're going to keep this. Log the pressure data. Log the temperature data. Get crew report. Get a goo. Now we're tilting over on our side because we are actually heading into the atmosphere and we're getting some reorientation as a result of that. Goo again on the other side. That's already got data in it, so we got to go to this side. There we go. Yeah, so we've got a problem here. We've gotten to the point where we've told it to deploy, but it can't because it was too low pressure. Okay, that's a problem. New problem. All right, so revert flight, revert to launch. All right. Gotta go much shallower. Hopefully we'll have bled off enough speed to be able to handle that. So I could do this by fiddling with the pressure settings. I kind of don't want to do that though. Oh, we're tilting over too far. As we build up enough speed, though, those fins will help level us out a little bit. We are still going up, but only slightly. We're not going to get a lot of height on this one. And now we're thrusting downward, which is exactly what I don't want. So let's try that again. Cancel. Revert flight to launch. All right. Let's do this again. Come on, Dashy. Hold it a little steadier for me, huh? I'm actually trying to hold into the, like to keep it from tipping over. Don't really need the SAS on when I'm doing that. Again, this might be a little too far over. Yep, that's not going to work. That's going to be tricky. That means that we're extremely sensitive to how far over we go because of the amount of extra thrust that next stage does. Okay. But a single solid booster doesn't do it for us either. Okay. It's going to be tricky to do with this particular configuration just because we can't really slow down at the end. Okay. Well, let's keep trying. constantly fighting against the descent, tipping over the descent to the nose. Might have it better this time. Come on. Keep that nose up. Those fins don't actually have any active ailerons on, ailerons on them in order to change the orientation of the craft. All right, so that actually did okay. Where did that end up getting us? Yeah, but you see, because of friction in this case, unless we go up and over the atmosphere, we're not covering enough distance. All right. Let's revert all the way back to the VAB. Let's figure out what we're going to do about this. So, let's try reconfiguring this with a pair of the smaller boosters. Let's see what happens when we do it this way. That means the lower stage will have a little bit of an easier time pushing. Yeah, we need to adjust the staging here a bit. Oh, not what I wanted to do. You go down into here. Get rid of the 2 useless stages. Now we're good. So let me see. And now we're going to... You have all the fuel. You have all the fuel. So we're going to see what happens when we do this configuration. This lower engine will have an easier time pushing less mass on top. So we'll get a bigger speed boost to begin with. The upper stage will have less long of a burn. But if I'm not mistaken, this thing can actually put out... in ASL, within the atmosphere, 197 newtons. Oh, actually, the bigger one has a higher thrust, higher max thrust. But that's when it runs out of fuel, so... I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out. Tip it over. It's actually a little easier to control because it's slightly less massive, which means that I can dip the nose the amount that I want. Don't even have the fins on there, and it's way easier to control. Also means, by the way, that the ship bends less. All the joints between the stages. Oh god, and there we go, and we're out of control. Alright. So, because it's a bit top-heavy. So, back to the VAB, let's add the fins on that upper stage. Because that'll help. A little bit. There we go. Yeah. Alright. Well, those fins won't do a whole lot for the first stage, but it'll do a lot for the second, at least I hope. Way more stable. Because now, although it's top heavy, those fins are creating a lot of drag every time it goes a little bit off course, which then pushes it back into alignment. So check that out. Now, that's not going to get us there. Okay, so what we've learned is with maximum thrust on both of those, we can't get to the mountains. Going shallower is going to help because we're going to have more drag. Going higher probably won't help because then we'll be up in the atmosphere, which means it'll make it more difficult. It'll make it more difficult to deploy the chutes at the right speed. Let's do one more launch where we do a slightly more vertical initial launch and then go sideways hard. I don't think it'll make a difference, because I think we'll lose horizontal velocity more than I think we will. So we're just going to go a hair over just to combat the planet's rotation. But other than that, we're going to go straight up until we have exhausted the first stage. I don't think it's going to matter, because I don't think we'll have cleared enough atmosphere for it to make that much difference. But let's find out. But now we need to go hard over, and I don't think it's going to let us. What I could do is go up until my vertical speed has largely bled off, at which point it will become easy to rotate, and then go hard over. Let's find out what happens with this launch anyway. So that, very, very vertical. Yeah, so revert flight to launch. So this is the way I play, lots of experimentation. Alright. A little bit over, but not much. Okay. This time, we're going to actually adjust our staging. So we're going to get rid of the dead weight. I should have adjusted that before I launched, but you can't do it afterward. I'm going to get rid of the dead weight when the fuel runs out, but then I'm going to coast for a bit. So there's that gone. And I'm going to wait until I've coasted up a fair bit and can tilt the craft over to about 45 degrees. Lock that in with the SAS and then fire the thrusters. Try to keep the nose from dipping down too hard. Okay, let's check the map, find out where we got to. Not very far. Alright, one more. Just, again, as an experiment. Launch up. Be a little harder tilt initially, but not much. There we go, just there. This time, when I start to be able to tip over, I'm only going to go to about 60 degrees. Okay. And right about there, go. Hold the nose up. Now we're holding it closer to 45 for longer, which gives us more height. It's not necessarily what I want, but I'm hoping the compromise of height and distance will get us to where we want to go, but not how far to fall. And the answer to that is not really. But we'll see where this goes, because it might get us into the... I don't think it'll get us into the highlands. In fact, let's just prove that by accelerating time. And on our way down, you know, we're well above the friction point there, but I don't think this is going to get us above a new biome. Flying over the grasslands, and we're not high enough up to be considered in the upper atmosphere. So, back to the VAB we go. So, we have to go to the bigger engine. But what we can do instead then, attach that on the bottom and this booster down here. What we're gonna do is we're going to use the lower booster. We're instead of controlling the thrust of the lower booster, we're going to use the lower booster to get us up into the atmosphere by going mostly vertical. And then we're going to do the same trick we were just doing by tilting over and then thrusting sideways so that we don't get it quite as much height, but we're pushing against friction, and we can control the amount of distance we get through the thrust of the second module. So let's do this in. Okay, so we're gonna add another stage and shove this into there. So now we can drop out that first stage just like we did before. This is how we're gonna do it, I think. Because what I want to do is I want to be going mostly sideways, so a lot of our speed is on purpose bled off when we're above the appropriate spot. Here we go. So tilt over just a little bit, just a little, and lock in the SAS. Of course, I didn't actually adjust the thrust on this thing, so this is kind of silly, but let's find out what happens. Maximum thrust. We're going to wait, so we're going to get rid of that, so now that's just dead weight. But now we're going to wait until about here, and then apply the thrust. But we're going to run into the problem that we're tilting over kind of hard, and the SAS module is not able to push back rotationally hard enough. Now we're thrusting down, but we're building up a lot of horizontal speed, so let's at least see where that got us to. Didn't even get us as far as the mountain. Wow. Okay. So this is going to be tricky. We need to be able to deploy those chutes higher up, or we're not going to be able to slow the vehicle down enough. All right. So this is where I'm desperate enough. That I'm willing to accept that we're going to go stupid high. But I need to be able to change when the chutes deploy. So the stock part is 0.04 units of pressure. We're just going to, and actually that's as minimal as we can get it, so that's going to be a problem. Alright, we're going to have these all maximally deployed altitude. And minimum pressure, and I don't think this is going to be enough. So the consequence of this is what we probably need to do in order to do this at this level of tech is to apply retro rockets partway down, or some other means of slow deployment. And we don't have drogue chutes. What we really need to make this work is drogue chutes, which are chutes that can be deployed at higher speeds, higher altitudes, lower pressures, whatever, but way earlier than the standard chutes, which don't slow down the ship enough for landing by any stretch, but do come on. I tilted over too far. Do slow down enough for the next level of chutes to come into play. So this is going to be tricky to do with the current level of tech. Not impossible, but at my skill level, probably a little trickier than I'd like. Alright. A little bit tilt over. Just a hair, but not much. There we go. Extremely sensitive to being tilted in this configuration. Now we can in a slightly harder tilt over. Really hard tilt over, actually. This is going way more up than I'd like it to. In fact, we got so much thrust going up there that we actually started to cause serious heat problems. That would normally get us into space, but the friction on the way up is probably going to drop us below. No, that will actually get us into space. Which I kind of don't want to do for a couple of reasons. We won't survive the re-entry, so that's not actually that useful. Fun! Alright. Let's try this again. A little bit harder over. It's about 5 degrees initially. Whoa, 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 whoa! Way harder over than I wanted to go. Too far over. Resist. Resist tipping. Alright, what do we got? What do we got? That's actually not bad. I don't think we're high enough up to get the upper atmosphere thing going. No. But let's see how far over this we can go before deploying our chutes. Highlands, here we go. Keep experiment. We have gotten Highlands. Log the temperature. Now, those might be the only two that go above the specific biome, but let's just do all of them. Flying at Kerbal, so that doesn't bias anything. Crew report. Over the Highlands, so that gets us something. Okay. This isn't fantastic, but it's something. Does this give us anything? Conduct material study. I don't think so. No, while flying at Kerbal. Alright. Now, we could have gotten this an easier way. I totally agree. But this was a good experiment that we can actually get here. So, here's the thing. We could have gotten this an easier way. True. This kind of proves that we can get here, though, but we can't get to the mountains, at least not without some tweaks. But maybe if we're really careful, we can get over the mountains with a slightly higher trajectory. It's going to take some fiddling, though. Anyway, let's. We've got the chutes deployed, and they are slowing us down to below the 10-meter limit. So I'm going to accelerate time as best I can here, and we're going to drop down into the islands. Now, we'll want to do this a second time to be able to get science right at the highlands on the surface. And you could argue that the science that I've gotten just by getting this stuff above the biome is not worth it. We could come back and get the above that biome with like a space plane or other gear once we have more control over the craft. But by that point, we'll probably be in space anyway, and we won't so much need that science. So the question is it worth trying to do this launch again? And the answer to that would be whatever it is. So let's review this data. We're gonna get 5 science out of it. Why not? We can do this launch again. Now the trick is we don't want the ship to be destroyed when we actually land. So I'm going to be doing... I'm not sure if I can rock this thing very much. In fact, I know I can't. So we're going to have to be at least a little bit lucky that we land in a place that tips over the rocket naturally pretty hard. However, I think... Yeah, I don't have any control at all at this point. Nor would I expect to, actually, because we have no electric charge. So in order to run the reaction wheels, you have to have electric charge, and there's a very tiny battery on the thing initially. We're totally at the mercy of how hard this landing occurs. Oh, but at least a couple of the chutes survived the initial touchdown and did lower us to the ground with relative safety. So we're going to recover that vessel. And we're totally going to save the game, because that was kind of remarkable that we survived that. We only got 9.1 science out of that. But... Alright. We're just going to do a quick save. Just to make sure that that's not lost. Okay, we're going to try that same thing again, but we're going to try to actually land it and get the ground science for the highlands. I'm not sure how we're going to do the mountains. We may want to leave the mountains for another time, because doing it with all these heavy parts is tricky. And it's not a lot of science, even for trying to be fairly complete. And we don't really need to start doing the stuff that gets us, like, sort of into space, amongst other things. So, alright. So, a little bit of a tilt, but not much. Thank you. A little bit more. That's it. That's as far as I want to go. Keep that nose up. Keep that nose up. This actually gives a pretty good ballistic trajectory. Let me go check the map. good. Maybe you want to come down a little harder now that I come to think of it. So you don't really want to go flying over the mountain. We may end up getting the mountain above mountain biome anyway. Oh my god, yes we are. Okay, that's new. That's a thing. So very sensitive to initial launch conditions, this particular build. Not getting into space, but arguably definitely getting us into... I don't know what the biome is going to be on the other side of this. The other problem is I don't know if I can actually deploy the chutes, but we're going to deploy as soon as it goes safety green. Or, well, not that color, but... Come on. Nope, 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 nope. And now we are too high. Really nice if we had retro thrusters. Okay, revert flight, revert to vehicle assembly, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to by default put these in the same stage. Yeah, let's just launch again. Alright, launch. Tilt it over, but not too hard. Maybe a little harder than last time, though. There we go. Now keep that nose up. Keep that nose up. Come on, keep it up. Keep it up hard. Go. Come on. I feel like I'm curling. Sweep! Alright. There we go. That's definitely going to be shallower. Come on. Altitude. I mean, not quite so much altitude as the last one, though. I mean, great if we can get the mountains too, but as long as we can get the grasslands, that'd be really nice. Oh, that's actually pretty good. That might get us the grasslands, actually, because I'm going to deploy the chutes. I don't know if I can deploy the chutes. It's not going to let us, is it? Oh, yes, there we go. You know, if that can slow us, it is slowing us down quite a bit. I mean, even just having those, they're sort of acting as drogue chutes, but not, you know, a lot. I shouldn't have lowered that pressure like that, mind you, but, okay, are we going to land in the mountains, or are we going to land on the... Still over the highlands. Well, we're going to come down where we're going to come down. I'm more interested in seeing if we end up over the mountains. No, it's still saying above the highlands, and we're not going to make the mountains proper. So this is actually good. This has been just enough. So I'm going to turn off the SAS. This has been just enough to get us into the highlands. Oh, yes. Yay! And there's the rumble as it reorients us. Now that twist around a really big craft, I think I've seen that snap off chutes before, but usually pretty good. Alright, so let's just double check. Temperature sensor, please. Log the temperature. It's over the mountains. Okay. Okay, well then, while we are up here, let's log the... Wow, alright, so we did actually make the mountains. I think these guys are going to give us anything, though. Nope. Okay. Now, again, you could argue what I really should do is just get the stuff that's on the ground, and that's fine. I agree with that principle. That means that we're going to have to do at least one more launch, maybe two, in order to get these last few biomes. And a space plane would be better. Totally. I'm not a space plane junkie. I like rockets, so I'm going to do most of this with rockets. Oh, I suppose I could speed up the physics, though. Or at least part of this descent. Let's see if any of my friends are saying anything interesting online. New. So yeah, the difference between the mountains and the highlands is very minor. And given this particular launch configuration's extreme sensitivity to initial launch conditions, getting both of them may end up just being trial and error. I'm not getting anything out of these guys up here, am I? Nope. Totally feel free to skip ahead of all of this if you're watching it after the fact. Dash is getting in a lot of good flight time, though. Now, once again, we are going to have the problem that if those chutes get auto-cut too early... Oh, we have more ability to rock back and forth on this one. Really wish we weren't landing in shadows, because that's making this a little tricky. Incidentally, our... okay, so this is above sea level, this is above surface, so that's helpful. That actually, switching that when you're landing can actually help you when you're doing your landing, because obviously above sea level doesn't help you when you're way up in the mountains. This is actually above surface, and I like that. It's good. There's a lot of hurry up and wait in this game. Okay, but we are coming down pretty quick here. And I want to be tilted specifically in a westerly direction when I land, because that's the way the slope of the mountain is going, and I want to encourage this thing to tip over with the chutes, which I just did. And you can see now, without chutes, that would have been way, way messier. So, very, very helpful to make sure that that happens. So, we're recovering the vessel. We probably got another 9 science out of it, something like that. Let's find out. Another 8.2 science. So, we're already up at 45, which you'll recall is the amount of science we needed for a new bit of tech. So, let's just check what we could get to see if it'll help. Smaller fuel tanks, various kinds of fuel tanks, various kinds of liquid fuel tanks. And actually going to a liquid assembly for that second stage means that we could reserve some of the fuel, arguably, for precision landing. So we could try that route. And we're going to need to purchase some liquid fuel tech anyway. So why don't we take this opportunity, actually, to ask the question, should we be going to liquid fuel? So let's just take a look around. So I really, really want this tier because general construction contains struts, and anybody who's played KSP for any length of time knows you can never have too many struts. So just to hold your ship together. Also, the launch stability enhancer helps for the bigger ships. But, oh, hey, neat, a flag. This is new. Flight can be applied to size 1 tanks and other... Oh, that is neat. So some stuff here is a little bit new to me. So lots of better couplers and the like. I'd love that tier, but I'm eyeing towards the various kinds of liquid fuel options that we might want. This one specifically comes with a larger fuel tank, which can be helpful. We already do have access to some liquid fuel tanks, though, plus the Reliant liquid fuel engine, which could be interesting. And since we'd be recovering that stage anyway, and since we're throwing away at least one engine anyway, it's worth asking, why not go that route now? And not worry about spending the science right now until we decide which way we want to go. So, let's do another quick save. We're going to do a full save, though, I think, in a second. I just want to... Okay, so let's go from Froggy to... we're going to go to Grasshopper, because we're hopping over the grasslands. Ha 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 ha. Plus, I don't know what the name to give it. So we're going to modify this slightly. We're going to strip off that. We're probably going to use the same lower stage and coupler. But let's actually go to a liquid fuel design. Now, to do that, we're going to need probably the larger of the fuel tanks. Probably quite a few of them, actually. The problem with the fuel tank, these guys, is you get control. In fact, we're going to want control with maybe that swivel, because that's nice. The Reliant or the swivel. One of them has vectoring control and the other doesn't. Is that the difference here? So... honestly don't know. Gimbal vectoring range. Okay, and this one does not have a gimbal vectoring range. So for control reasons, I actually kind of want to go with the swivel engine. So let's buy that. Now we're spending a lot of money to do this, but not as much as you might think, because we've been making a little money in the process. So we got 95 grand, and that's kind of where we've been hovering the last little while. But we've also been purchasing some good equipment. So let's see what happens. Let's see how far we can get with this very simple design, where we start with the solid booster and then we use the liquid fuel, and hopefully what this means is at the tail end we can use the liquid fuel to sort of control our re-entry vector. Don't know if this will be enough, but let's give it a go, and we're going to recover most of that anyway. Because we have the swivel rocket engine on there, though, we don't need the fins, because the fins should be controllable by the SAS. Just to keep us going straight. So let's find out what happens when we just launch this thing. So we're going to launch. Tilt over a little bit, but not too far. Maybe a little further than that. I did not have it vectored up to full thrust. So that's fine. Now I'm going to stop this rocketry with about, I don't know, 20% fuel remaining, something like that. So how far up are we going to go here? Just want to keep an eye on the height. So it's actually quite high. Alright, so we're gonna have to tilt over harder if we want to make the distance all the way to the mountains. So we're gonna revert the flight to launch, and let's see what happens when we tilt over harder to begin with. Get an idea on where this is gonna end up. Might still need those fins. Well, we're gonna... Whoa. little too far over. Oh, and we've lost control. All right, revert flight. So the problem is, even with the vectoring engine, we are going to end up with... Oh, we're going to end up with it going a little bit off kilter as we're trying to ascend. So what I'm going to do, I am thinking, peel that off. I'm going to add another bit of fuel. So I'm thinking I might not need it. Now the problem with adding fuel is there's a lot of diminishing returns. The more fuel you add, the more fuel you have to push. Always tricky. But a longer burn, up until the point at which you're burning fuel just to lift fuel, which I don't think we're at yet, you still get at least something. Alright. And I kind of built that a little askew, I think. Oh, no, I built that okay. So here we go. Launch. Tilting us over a bit. Hold that nose up. Hold that nose up. Again, once we're going this fast, it doesn't matter if you can vector, it's kind of hard to... Alright, where are we in terms of... We are not at the mountains yet, but we're going to be getting there. Alright, let's keep a little bit in reserve. Where did we get to? Not far enough. Alright. One more launch, because I don't think I was going up at a sort of an optimal angle. I can get above more of the atmosphere, a little bit more careful. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's it, that's it. That's as far as I want to go, because I'm going to be descending as the solid fuel burns out. Fight against it. Make sure our throttle's up to full before we detach. Hold it hard, hold it up hard. Let's build up some speed at the nearly 45-degree angle mark. Full vectoring to try to keep that nose up a little longer. I can even improve on this a little bit. I should be going up at more like 45 degrees, but because it's right about now, when I enter that second layer of atmosphere, where I start being able to build up a lot more speed. And cut, because I want to see where the map is getting us on that launch. Uh-oh. That was bad. That was really bad. I accidentally hit the space bar and deployed the chutes, which did diligently come out, and I wasn't making enough headway to get all the way to the mountains. So we're going to revert to the VAB. Let's see what happens if I add 2 more of these. The problem with that is more weight for that lower stage to carry. I can't support parts over 30 parts, so that's a problem. So we're at the point where we have to actually watch our part count, because we haven't expanded the VAB. So basically, the problem with this is I've got a whole bunch of little tiny fuel nodes, fuel tanks, and that eats up the part count. So you got a limit on parts, you got a limit on mass. There's probably other limits that I'm forgetting. Yeah, now we're getting the problem that we had before where we're so top-heavy that we're tilting over too hard. Oh, I thought I was going to get more control by going to the to this. I mean, I am kind of, in the sense that tilt over gingerly. Prepare for full thrust. This looks like it'll be a pretty good launch. Leave that largely alone while I go and review where we've gotten to. Actually, you can see if I angled my rocketry a little bit more northward, I could probably hit the mountains a little more easily. Alright, this isn't bad. So I'm going to get the end point out over the mountains, and then I'm going to cut the engines. And see where that gets me in terms of my launch position. Or my end landing position. So I think this was the right answer, but it has a different kind of fiddly to make it work. Now, again, there are lots of different ways to do this. Building a space plane might take different parts, but it could mean that I can fly over here and get the science a little more easily. Waiting until later when I had slightly more advanced tech. Just kind of what I ended up doing. I could arguably get upper atmosphere stuff up here, but I could do that on my way up on a different launch. So I'm gonna because I got a good and favorable landing target here. Oh, and I gotta come down right in the mountains. Okay, in fact, I've gone over the mountains. Oh, God. Slow it down, slow it down. Oh, this is bad. And I can't turn myself over. Alright, so I'm gonna have to abort this. Words to the wise. Make sure that you deploy your chutes early. We kind of already knew this. But I can't flip the ship around hard because I got the fins on it, which is keeping me going in the direction that I'm actually aiming. Which, of course, has its own problems. When you're coming down hard. Downside to fins. I prefer a situation where I've got a lot of control surfaces on my rocket. Come on, hold it up hard. Go. Oop, and full thrust. Okay. So once we're up above that first level of atmosphere, the amount of friction we get is relatively minor. So we've actually got a pretty good design here. So I'm going to go with that. Oh, a little bit further. But the trick here the real trick here is I'm still in atmosphere, so tipping my ship over is going to be tricky. Yeah, I'm not... I don't think I have the ability to tip myself all the way over. Trying to rock myself. Come on. Come on. Tip me over. I mean, I'm going to come down somewhere anyway. So the advantage to this design is that... so I can't use my rocket engines or my... the flywheel part of the SAS to tip my ship over. I am pretty much still ballistic. The only thing the liquid fuel engines have given me is the ability to cut it off at a prescribed time without ditching the whole engine, which has been a major win. Here's hoping I'm not too heavy for the shoots, though. Ooh, that was fast. That's going to be soft enough. Okay. So this design uses all 30 parts, but is capable of getting me probably, I'm guessing this is actually above the mountains, right? I came in a little too high. No, it's over the highlands. All right, so I could actually go arguably a bit further because I got lots of fuel. All right, so that's interesting in and of itself. Right, so let's switch to above the mountain. So this was a successful design. I've got it set to above land, just so I can monitor when I'm going to touch down. Wow, that's pretty. Of course, landing in the mountains comes with its own trick, because you want to land a little bit closer, but not so high up the slope that you literally, just sort of fall down the cliff face. It's a bit tricky. I'm wondering if I want to go north a little bit where the mountains are a little less scary. Basically the way I'm facing now. Like a little bit further up there. Coming down as fast as I can. Can't do it any faster. Oh, lots of fun. And one of my friends is currently playing Don't Starve. I haven't played the single player version of that in a while. But I have carefully played it through to completion just once, at least way back in the day when it was simpler. Okay, I gotta be a little bit careful here. I do play a lot of Don't Starve Together, which is the multiplayer version, which doesn't really have an end game as such. At least it hasn't until maybe recently. I haven't really checked, but it's a lot of fun because it's one of those cooperative, multiplayer games that's highly cooperative. If you want to, I mean, you can set it up to play cooperatively, which is how I always play it with my friends. And it's basically you against the elements, and it's quite challenging. And you get eventually good enough that the opening gambit to the game is relatively simple, but it's still a challenge a little bit later on when things start to get a little more random. It gets a little more stressful. Things start to go a little more pear-shaped at the wrong times, and you got to stay on top of it. All right, what do we got here? We don't have a lot of reaction control, so we're not really... In fact, I don't think we have any reaction control. I think this tipping is just a result of... I'm not sure if I'm getting any reaction control tilt. Do I have any battery power? Ooh, I do. Okay, so this is tilt. But my being able to control whether or not I come down sideways enough is going to be tricky. The best I can do is just rock it back and forth and make sure that when I actually hit the ground, it's rocking as much as possible, again, so that the parachutes take you all the way down. I wish you could specify, actually, that the chutes don't auto-cut, or at least don't auto-cut until far longer than they currently do. Maybe specify the amount of time. So here we go. Yes, 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 yes. At least a couple of Yes! Didn't get all of them, but I got some of them. I'm good with that. Alright, let's do this thing. Conduct the material study from the Kerbal Highlands. We got lots of science coming off this thing now. Keep the experiment. All of this will be good science. All of it. Log the pressure data. Log the temperature data. Ooh, delicious, delicious science. Log the pressure. Log the temperature. Log. Report. I think I got everything because I can't do an EVA. Okay. Recover the vessel. We're doing good. We're doing really good. Zach got us a total of 18 science from that launch. And we are still at 94,000. And we've gotten a bunch of expansion parts already purchased. So we are in pretty good shape. And I'm going to do one more, obviously, I think. I'm just going to quick save on that too. One more launch to try to get the mountain data in a similar vein. Because I've got above mountain data, I don't have the on-ground mountain data. And we have just the ship, I think, to be able to pull that off. Let's try it. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to go the same direction that we've been going, because going due east is actually not too hard. Prepare for full thrust. Full liquid fuel thrust. And the SAS is able to hold our attitude fairly nicely as we gain more speed and get above the atmosphere. Our descent, our nose descent, or our directional descent is going to drop a bit. Oh, nope, we do not want to tip that far up. I'm a little bit worried about getting tumbling or some other dorky problem. All right. Let's check to see where we are. Don't think we could get orbit from this, but I don't want to take the chance. So I'm going to cut it early, which I can do, which is fine. But what I'm then going to do is when I get closer to the top, I'm going to push a little bit forward. To be a little careful because I just caused my speed to go a little high. Okay, I'll wait until I'm up and over before I cause more drag. Maybe I can nudge it forward a little bit. Okay, I should be coming down okay in the mountains at this point. But I want to wait until I get to the apex before, and a little bit past the apex actually, because I should be able to come down just as far on the other side before deploying the chutes, because I don't want my horizontal speed to be cut too much. Now if I come down straight now, I should be in the mountains, so I'm going to deploy now. Is hoping the speed won't build up too much before I have a chance to... Can I tip this all the way over and apply some reverse thrust? Maybe. No. That's problematic because we may build up too much speed coming down to be able to deploy the chutes. Come on. Come on, deploy. Deploy, damn you. Got him. Okay, good. I was a little bit worried that the pressure would not build up to the point where they could deploy before the speed built up. But now they're already deployed and they're slowing us down, which means we're fine. Coming in a little high over the mountains. I think we've crossed a little too far. Did we cross into the grasslands on the other side? That's the trick. Oh no. Oh no, we actually did. Oh, that's rough. Yep, yeah, look at that. We came all the way over the mountains. Okay, so, revert the flight to launch. So, that was, hey, we had more viewers. Okay, one more viewer, anyway, that's nice. I don't know if you're still there, but that's okay. So, let's try that again. So we got a pretty good design here for what we're doing, because we ditch very little of the ship, we recover most of it, and we're getting all the science. But I came in a little too, my trajectory took a little too far into the mountains, and I can go with going less far. So. Oops. All right. Seem to be holding our nose at a good spot. I mean, it's always fun to look at the flight from this perspective. It's always really pretty, very inspiring, but this is where all the data is. Oh, let's get that nose down a little bit. We gotta get that horizontal. We don't need the height as much as we need the horizontal motion at this point. In fact, arguably we want to stay a little bit into the thicker atmosphere because we can always punch a little harder forward. It's a little bit less easy to punch less hard forward. So that's not bad. And in fact, we're getting above the atmosphere, so we're going to be slowed down less. That's looking pretty good. So let's deploy the chutes, because they're not going to come out anyway until we're a little bit further along, and we're coming out and over and looking straight down on this. It looks like we're coming into the mountains, so that's good. One other thing that rocking back and forth can do is present a slightly stronger profile of the ship against the wind, which can slow you down a little bit. That's awfully fiddly in terms of control. I'm kind of not claiming that's actually the case. Okay, so here's the thing. Is that going to drop us, again, a little too far over the mountains? Let's find out. Let's keep an eye on this. We're still in the mountains, but we still got a bit of a ways to drop, so... So that's dropping us straight down here. Now here's the next trick. Because it's the mountains, what we don't want to do in this case is fall forward. We actually want to fall back. We actually want to fall... And I have no control over that at this point. So it's going to be very interesting what happens when we get all the way to the ground. Whether or not we will die horribly. As long as the chutes, at least some of the chutes, hold up for descending the nose down to the ground, we should survive. And the science instrument should survive. Do. Sending as fast as we can. If we manage to stick this landing enough to be able to collect the science. Then we can get on with the real job of doing the really high altitude stuff and actually being in orbit, which we can almost certainly now do. Although 30 part limit is a little tricky. But we can at least start taking contracts for suborbital flights and the like, which is good for money. Do some experimental parts stuff, which is part and parcel where the career mode starts to take off. So, I will grant you, this has been this has been 2 hours and 45 minutes of literally just the very basic sciencey stuff. The next session, later on in this session, will actually be where it starts getting interesting. So what I will probably do is, as soon as I get this successful biome, I will probably... Ooh, let's just slow that down. As soon as I get this successful biome, I will probably... stop the stream to record that as the starting bit, and then I will start a new stream with... Here's where we're going with actual, more advanced parts into space. Uh-oh. Okay, I lost the engine, which will cost me a bit, but the bulk of the ship came down okay. I'll call that a win. It's not an unqualified win, because I lost an expensive part, but... I can dig it, that it was hard getting out here. And it's the mountains. I literally landed a rocket in the mountains. So... Logging temperature in the mountains. Getting all of the sciencey goodness. And it didn't take us too long with experimentation. I'm okay with that. I am actually really quite okay with that. So let's go and recover this vessel. And find out where we stand. And then I will pause the stream. So we earned 18.3 science, which is kind of, I think, the same as landing in the grasslands and anything, which is kind of, I guess, to be expected. Similar biome and all that. We've covered most of the biomes. I think we covered all the biomes on the surface. I'm not absolutely sure about this. There actually might be a Kerbal desert that I can't get to as easily from here. If there does end up being one that I can get to, I will go and try to tackle that as a consequence of science gathering later on, because I'm always going to have some science modules on board most of my ships. Well, at least most of the ships until I know I've exhausted the science capabilities nearby. But let's check this out. So, from a parts perspective, we got some recovered parts, which isn't bad. We did lose some money on that, but that's okay. I can live with that. Yeah. Okay. So, do we want to do just one more and go straight up and try to get the high atmosphere stuff? I don't know if we got the high atmosphere stuff. Just in case that is a thing. We're going to use the quick save feature. Hi, is this your first time playing career mode? No, it is not. I've actually gotten to the point of landing space stations on planets a couple of times, and then done a lot of goofing off other than that. But I'm playing this through on medium difficulty, which isn't unusual for me, but mostly because I just felt like playing KSP, and as long as I was doing it, I thought, why not stream it? It's a lot of fun. My current personal shtick right now is that all of my currently active Kerbals are, and I will show you this because I'm about to launch, you probably guessed from the title of the stream, are my favorite ponies. Or, well, the ponies I could get involved. So here we go. We're loading up, and we're going to go straight up and collect some science, and Rainbow Dash is going along for the ride. So here we go. We are going to launch. Huzzah! And if we happen to get into orbit, which we conceivably will on this launch, given the size of this thing, then we'll get some science there too. But I'm going to go after the low Earth science, high atmosphere, low Kerbal orbit, high atmosphere. Oh, there we go. So, and other than the model mod, this is all stock KSP. I'm not doing anything terribly fancy here. I just feel like not involving a bunch of mods. I do miss MechJeb, but I never used MechJeb until long after I actually learned how to fly these things, so it was more just a thing of convenience than anything else. How high up are we getting here? I actually don't want to go all the way to orbit this time. Do this in pieces. Oh no, we're fine. We're totally fine. I'll get to just below orbit and cut off my engines. Which is about 80k. And I want to save a little fuel for re-entry, deorbit burn on the downside, because I'm going to be coming in hotter than I would like. And obviously quite dark here, which is a little bit irritating. So, yeah, we're in upper atmosphere, and yes, we can get all the science in the upper atmosphere. All the science. Love the science. Delicious, delicious science. Crew report. And goo. I don't know if I actually got the goo in the mountains. That's going to annoy me, but there's nothing I can do about that. Well, I mean, until I land in the mountains again, which I might do off stream, just so that I don't bore everybody with it. Now that I've gone to all this trouble. And because it's not that important overall. Oh, overwrite crew report. I already did that one. Granted, it's only likely to be a few science, so it'll be more of an opportunistic thing. So that's all the science from upper atmosphere. At least I think I'm in the upper atmosphere still. KSP quick tip to help you and viewers see better on the night side. Press escape, pause settings, scroll down to video graphics, set both ambient light boost and light boost map to like 25%. Alright, I can do that. Hang on a second, so let me follow that. KSP viewers, so press escape, pause settings, scroll down to video. Escape, pause settings, scroll down to video. Oh, there we go. So we're going to go to ambient light boost and light boost map to like 25%. Ambient light boost. Yeah, okay, 25-ish, 26. Okay, it seems to like stopping on 26. I'll stick that and hit apply. Oh, hey, look at that. I will totally take it. Oh, crappy death, and I just deployed my parachutes accidentally. But you know what? That's okay. I can totally do that. No, let's not change the temperature scan, so that's fine. Because I'm pretty sure I'm still in the low atmosphere. That was bad, but that's okay. That was a very, very good suggestion. I will take it. And I'm coming down a little hot here, but got my SAS pointed up. Okay, okay. This is why I have extra fuel. So I do a partial deorbit burn, just enough to keep my my primary parachutes from failing, because I don't have the drogue chutes yet. Hey, and there we go. At least they're out, and I think they're slowing me down a little bit. Yeah, I'm not building up speed. It's not slowing me down a lot yet, but I've still got a lot of reserve A lot of reserve fuel. And yeah, my speed's coming down more than enough at this point. So I should be able to land safely. Despite tipping over, because now I'm entering atmosphere, so my fins are pulling me around, and I'm a bit nose heavy. But I gotta turn off my SAS. It's not helping. This is still a situation where I don't have landing gear, so I'm technically landing on the engine, which means I'm not likely to land upright. So again, we're in the situation where I probably want to rock the ship, or at least try to guarantee that when I come down on my side, some of my chutes are live. Oh, and there we go. Okay, accelerate physics. So, yeah. Yeah. I could arguably set the... No, I really wanted them to deploy higher up earlier on, because... I was doing higher altitude things and I wanted the chutes to come up, but it does slow down this descent, which is annoying, but that's life. You just get to hear my lovely tones for the rest of the descent. Actually, what you do get to hear is the lovely sound of me deploying Coke Zero in the Kerbal standard extremely large coffee mug the size of my fist. Bigger than my fist. Giant coffee cup. Solved. Doo-doo-doo. Sending on my way down as fast as I possibly can, I think. Nope. Time warp 4, yeah. So, I've gotten almost, I think, all of the science that I could have gotten in the local biomes, short of possibly a desert biome that I can't get to without a lot more jiggery-pokery. And I can collect that later. I've got enough to get into space, which is more than enough to do touristy stuff, which means I can start the career mode proper. Not that this hasn't been career mode-y, but I haven't made a lot of money. It's been mostly just collecting science with as little loss in money as possible so that I have good rocket parts, so... And I like running my career modes fairly science-heavy. Doo-doo-doo. A little bit faster, please. Actually, let's make sure we are on not water level so that I know when I'm actually coming to the surface. Coming on down, coming on down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to land this. I am going to order some dinner in because I don't feel like going anywhere and I don't feel like cooking this evening or anything like that. So I will get food on the go, and or on the delivery anyway. And then I will come back into this. So expect me to be back in... Well, actually, I'm going to come back right after ordering because I don't really feel like doing anything else this evening except for goofing off in KSP or possibly some other game. But let me see. Oh, jeez, forgot to turn off physics warp, but it doesn't seem to have impacted me badly in any way. Pay attention, Code Weaver. There's a test afterward. Right. So we've already got all the stuff that we want to get out of this. So let's hit the recover. The Kraken of physics speed has not eaten me yet. I am a little shocked by this, but that's okay. Alright, so we got, look at that, 54.9 science earned from all of that, because the further out we get, the more crazy amount of science we get, and it's actually conceivable that we could, so let me see, the most science we got out of that, out of any one instrument, was the materials study. And we got 20 and 4 out of that. I guess we get nearly 1 science if we did it again. That's probably not worth it. But the high end was good. We got piles of science out of that. That's super awesome. And we'll get a lot more when we get up into the region of space proper. This is where I'm going to take at least a 10-minute break. Where I'm going to cut the stream, but feel free to come back to me momentarily if you've got nowhere else to be, because I kind of feel like I want to play more of this. I just need to take a few minutes break to sort things out. So hang on for a second. I will be back, and we will continue on into generating some income and building rockets and generally building up funds and more science. And yeah, if you're into that, stay with me and we'll have some fun. If you want to see some more advanced KSP stuff, like I said at the beginning of my stream, I definitely recommend checking out Scott Manley, obviously one of the big names. I like Billy Wynn Jr. There's lots and lots of people. With at least one other in my standard Twitch list who I absolutely love watching because he just never gets tired of it. It is... come on. I'm going to get this name before it kills me. It's EJ_SA. EJSA. He's always playing KSP, almost always playing KSP. He's been doing it for years, never gets tired of it. Fantastic streamer for this sort of thing. But if you want to stick around to see where I go with this, feel free. I will be back in about 10 minutes or so, I think. All right. Back in a second.